Joe is a goose. That's right.
Honk.
Honk.
Pepper goose.
So yes, for anyone unfamiliar, this is Joe. He's my co-host for this talk show. Joe and I have been doing, like, we met back in middle school, like 6th or 7th grade, and we've been very good friends ever since. We play a lot of video games together. We've played mostly Destiny and like Call of Duty Zombies. We played together a lot, and all sorts of games. But we've also, there's actually quite a few videos on my YouTube channel that involve and feature Joe as the co-host, including most recently the Skyrim T-Pose edition. I've got I did a little bit of a playthrough of Elder Scrolls Online with him. I mean, you know, like an hour and a half worth of playthrough, and it pointed out a lot of the issues with it, and I got the entire Elder Scrolls Online community angry at me, all 12 people. So so I ended up privating the videos. But
if you don't know who I am, where have you been?
that's right, yeah. He's been a staple here for years. Wait.
Decades even.
Yeah, decades. Before
and
Twitch.
I know Jofo was joking, how do I play games with flippers and wings? If you know anything about me, I am about that coordinated, so.
He is excellent at playing with the flippers and wings. You can't make Wednesdays re. Yeah, it's Joe, I don't know if you were hearing before the podcast, before this whole thing started. I was talking about possibly switching to Thursdays instead of Wednesdays, but I don't know for sure. So that's something that you and I can discuss at some point. What restaurant am I in front of? Let me hide my face cam. You can see back behind there's Stanley and all of them. That's from The Office. I'm gonna real quick go over to my main thing here. We're not actually playing games right now, but I'll just show you some of my other backgrounds I had done. I have fire. I have a roller coaster. We can go riding on a roller coaster, and I have a beach, which I was gonna do that as my basic one, but then Abby actually suggested doing the Office background, and I was like, oh, that's an awesome idea. So beachy, yeah, very, very beachy. So yeah, so I am being interviewed in the office right now, it seems. So we're gonna go ahead and get started here. So Joe, it looked like condiments. Oh yeah, it does kind of look like ketchup, like a ketchup in a napkin dispenser back there. Joe, I'm gonna let you start her up and start talking about New Vegas.
Well, thank you, Alex. Algo, Mr. Dude. If you've never played Fallout New Vegas, you're missing out. I would say it's definitely it competes with Skyrim as my favorite RPG of all time. And I think most people who've played it, more than maybe 10 hours of it, would say that it's like probably best game of all eternity. If you don't think that, you're wrong. So Fallout New Vegas,
give unbiased opinions here, just so
of course, very, very. Fallout New Vegas came out in 2010, which is 2 years after Fallout 3, and it was basically Bethesda Game Studios bought the IP rights of Fallout and then released Fallout 3, and they were like, oh, we sold so many copies that it would make financial sense to hire another company to make another spin-off game. And they hired Obsidian Entertainment, which, you know, just so happened to have basically everyone who worked on the original 2 Fallout games working at Obsidian at the time. So it's like, this is Fallout New Vegas was basically like, okay, if Fallout 3 happened to be developed by the original studio, this is what it would look like. It was made in 18 months. Bethesda Game Studios was like, we just got to get it out the door. In true Bethesda fashion, like it was a dumpster fire at the start. Like there was this insane game-breaking bugs, which made everyone happy because that's how Bethesda games are supposed to be.
Yeah, that's right. It wouldn't be a Bethesda game without the ability to glitch through the floor within the first 5 minutes.
Truly, truly not. I mean, it's pretty disconnected from Fallout 3 and 4. There are some references in Fallout New Vegas to what's happening in Fallout 3, but I think Bethesda's pretty salty about how many people like Fallout New Vegas, so they never mentioned anything about it in Fallout 4. Like what's happening out west? Who knows? I don't care, because
it never happened.
Yeah, people in Fallout 3 and 4 drink Vim, and people in Fallout New Vegas drink Sunset Sarsaparilla, and never the two shall meet.
It's a regional drink, I guess.
Very, very, yeah. So everyone drinks Nuka-Cola. That's like the Coca-Cola of the Fallout world, but like the Pepsi is not so decided upon. It's so, if you've never played Fallout, the history of the Fallout universe is basically like as if we never invented like computers or anything like that. Like the basically like the transistor, it was never invented, so it's sort of like set in the 1950s but in the future. There's like a lot of technology, but like it's still weirdly behind the times for being set in the 2200s. And in the year 2077, the United States gets completely obliterated in a nuclear war with China. So look forward to that. Put that on your calendars.
Here we go.
Yeah, so it's set. Fallout New Vegas is set 204 years after that nuclear war, and we play as someone dubbed the Courier, because at the start of the game, basically in the main cutscene, there's no gameplay before this happens, but you just you get mugged on your way to delivering something super valuable that you really don't know what it is. It's like, oh, I guess I got caught in the wrong place at the wrong time because I took this courier job, and then you in the cutscene get shot in the head by Chandler Bing, or at least
credits play and the game's over.
Yeah, exactly. His he says the game was rigged from the start. You get shot, you die. The game doesn't happen. You paid $60 for a 1 minute cutscene.
Yes, money well worth spent.
When you come to, you are greeted by a man named Doc Mitchell, who's like, yeah, you died. You literally died, but you got dug out of the ground by a robot, and I came and am the doctor of the town, so I saved you, because future technology, medicine, something. Yeah, so you don't remember what happens or who you are. The only context of the game is that 1 minute cutscene, and it's like, why am I here? What am I supposed to do? All you have is a note that said that you took that courier job, and maybe there's someone who knows about where the people who shot you went in the next town over, so you can go, find them if you want. Other than that, go ahead and don't get killed. So as you traverse through the forbidding wilderness of 2280s Nevada, you
truly hell on earth.
Truly hell on earth. You learn more about the world. You're like, okay, I guess there are these factions that are warring over Nevada for some reason. Las Vegas is sort of an area that's of importance to some people for some reason, and you learn who the factions are. The first faction you normally meet is called the NCR. Which stands for the New California Republic. They obviously are based out of California, if you could guess.
Really? Wow.
They oh wow. They were in the first two games, Fallout 1 and 2, so they make a return here, and we never hear from them again because
Because
Bethesda.
Bethesda, yeah.
They're the most vanilla faction. It's just like, we're just gonna do America again. They have their own currency, and they're a democracy, and their president shows up at some point in the game, and he's there for like 10 minutes. And yeah, they're probably like, people choose them because America, I guess. But like, they're my least favorite faction, actually.
Because they're too boring.
Boring. The next faction you meet is Caesar's Legion. They are much more interesting, but also much more divisive. Essentially, they were founded by this one guy who was in this other faction called the Followers of Apocalypse. Their goal is like, we're just going to be doctors and give everyone free healthcare if they need it. Like, oh, everyone's dying, but at least we can save people. But he's like, he basically got disillusioned with that and with the NCR. He's like, we're gonna, like, if you rebuild the old world the way it was, and the old world caused the nuclear war, why would you do that? So let's just try something else, anything else. And he was like, what if we just build ancient Rome again? Like, with all of its problems, like, as
That's the most important part.
Yeah. So, like, basically when you first meet the Legion, you're like walking down the road, there's a caravan going by, and Legion soldiers come in and just like start throwing spears. And most of the time they get absolutely demolished because the caravan has machine guns. It's like, oh, I guess you don't need to use guns if you don't want, but if you don't, you're at a severe disadvantage. Caesar's Legion, they have a very strict hierarchy. They're very strange, because, like, a lot of the advancements of the past, like, 200 years, they just completely reject. They're like, yeah, we're gonna not have a democracy or rights for women or, you know, anything. Slavery's a thing again. But as long as we don't end up like the old world where we get nuked to oblivion and we save humanity, that's all that matters.
They've got a very roundabout way of getting to salvation for humanity, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, when you meet
women are invited to salvation.
Oh. when you meet Caesar himself, because he's actually in the game as like someone you can go talk to, he does this like whole diatribe about Hegelian dialectics, and I'm like, it goes over my head, but he's basically like, I will win either way because my goal is to change the NCR. If they fall to me, I win, and if they defeat me, they defeated me by changing how they act, so I win. Which I guess, I don't know.
Whatever floats your boat, I guess.
And then as you finally make your way to New Vegas, like trying to find who you got shot by, you end up on the Las Vegas Strip, which has been, for the most part, like, is the same as in real life. There's a bunch of casinos, there's different like companies that run the casinos. The only difference being that, for the most part, the law of the land is controlled by an army of robots called Securitrons, and these robots are owned by a man named Mr. House. He was a businessman from the pre-war era, so he was in his like 50s in like 2077. So
Nice.
like his actual birthday was last year. So he's like 250 years old, and it's like, how did this happen? Well, he has like basically all of the technology you could possibly imagine at his disposal.
Nice.
So where he could lengthen his life to whatever he wanted, and he's an interesting character, and he's one of the 4 major factions. Like, you can just do what he says and beat the game that way. Like at the start of the game, he's the de facto ruler, but he wants to get rid of the NCR and Caesar's Legion because they're both encroaching on his power over New Vegas, and he wants to just, keep it the way things are. He's kind of the way things are is kind of crap for most people, because the only people allowed on the Las Vegas Strip are wealthy tourists from the NCR. Like, they go and gamble their money away, while the people who actually live in Las Vegas and the surrounding areas, you basically have to pass a credit check to enter the Strip. Like, they rummage through your pockets, and it's like, if you don't have $5,000, then you're not allowed in the Strip.
Nice. Like what Jofo said, apocalypse casinos seem like they're a very important thing.
they are.
Oh yeah, that's kind of how it's like in the common area. Yeah, that's right. Jofo was actually, you were at Las Vegas recently, so was it exactly like this?
As a little like aside there, one of the most interesting ways to play the game is starting your character with 10 luck, and then just like going straight for the casinos in Las Vegas.
Just gamble your life away.
Yeah, you can go sit there at the table playing blackjack. It's like, oh, you got to 20, double down, get an ace every time. Yeah, and so you go encounter Mr. House. He's like, oh, sorry you got shot, but not really, because I don't care. You're just, you're just a pawn in my game. But the thing that got stolen from you was mine. That was an order that I put in, and you have to go get it back. Which sounds pretty hard, but luckily the person who stole it was one of the owners of one of the casinos on the Strip. So you just like walk across the street and you can go confront him and take it back.
And then the game's over right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course he's not just going to be like, oh, here you go. Sorry about that.
Sorry for the misunderstanding. And when I shot you.
So, of course, you have to, kill him or pickpocket it off of him or something. There's in Fallout New Vegas, you probably noticed that there's, while playing the game, that there's a lot of ways to do any given like quest objective. And most of the time, if you're not being like super careful about it, he'll just like escape, basically. Like, he'll be like, hey, I'll have a talk with you upstairs, and then you go upstairs and he just leaves, because why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But another way to do it is, obviously, you can just go in and like start shooting and killing everyone in the casino who starts attacking you. But there's also a way to do it as a female character that you can't do it as a male character. If you get a certain perk when you level up, you can get something called the Black Widow perk, which gives you extra skill checks against male characters, and you can be like, hey, let's go upstairs and get it on, basically. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah.
But but you can basically like there's like a fade to black, and while that's happening, there's like basically options of what to do, and including just stab him, and then he dies, and you get to keep the platinum chip, the item that you've been searching for.
Nice.
And after you kill this guy Benny Chandler Bing, you meet another character named Yes Man, and Benny's plan was basically to get rid of Mr. House and use the platinum chip, this item that he stole from you, to upgrade the Securitrons that are in New Vegas, and have his own robot army. And he was planning to basically replace Mr. House. And after you kill Benny, you can talk to this guy, Yes Man. He's a Securitron that Benny hacked into, and he's the fourth option of a major faction to side with. He's in the game mostly as a failsafe, because every character I've mentioned so far is killable. Like, you could go kill Mr. House, you could kill Caesar, you could kill anyone you meet on the street, basically. The only characters you can't kill are Yes Man, and there's a vendor that's like behind bulletproof glass. Everyone else besides children is a killable NPC in this game.
Yeah, it's a lot better than in like Skyrim, where like it feels like half of the characters are unkillable because they're all quest related, but then some other quest related NPCs are killable still, and then you can just completely bork your game.
Quest failed successfully.
Yes.
Oh, but like, could you imagine like playing Skyrim and fuck you, graybeards, just
yeah, just take them all down. Become the new. I am the new Alduin. Bring a new wave of terror.
The world has ended once again.
Oh, Abby said can't kill kids. I bet this is Anakin Skywalker's least favorite game.
Dang.
You can kill the women, sorry, but not the children.
Yeah, so after you've decided what faction to side with, Yes Man being the correct option, but my personal biases aside, most of the quests are basically like, there's minor factions that are scattered around the playable map, and you have to get them to join your side or to cease to exist. So there's the main factions, at least that I could remember. I think these are all the ones that exist, but there's the Boomers. Okay, Boomer. They basically their whole dealio is they have a military base that they took over, and if anyone goes near them, they just blow them up. And that's why they're called the Boomers.
Sound tactic.
Yeah, so you just gotta like run through all the explosions and get past the fence, and then they're surprisingly pretty easy to get on your side after that. Even with one charisma, it's like, hey, can you guys join me? Okay, I guess.
Sounds good. Very easily swayed.
There are a few. There's like a side quest to get them a bomber plane, but it's not even necessary. It's just, I guess they're not gonna come attack us during the battle of. I should probably mention this right now. The main story of the game is everyone thinks that there's going to be another huge war, the NCR versus Caesar's Legion, over who gets to control Hoover Dam and all the electricity it creates. And so the whole point of the rest of the quests after you like join a faction is, okay, let's not get these people to attack us while we're fighting the battle, you know. Maybe even help us out if that's possible at all. So yeah, after you take care of the boomers, I think the next one in sequence is the Great Khans. They are basically just drug dealers.
Nice.
There's nothing more to them. They're just like some tribe that's camped out in this ravine up north in the map. And if you don't get rid of them, I guess they're gonna side with the other side.
They side with whoever gives them more drugs.
Surprisingly, there's a backstory with them about the NCR like kicking them out of their home territory, so they're very much against them most of the time. But you can always I think the way
Jofo says, are they good drugs? I'm just thinking they're like they're all addicted
good.
to like penicillin and ibuprofen.
Ugh.
Gotta get my ibuprofen fix. I'm jonesing for some acetaminophen.
Oh.
OTC.
Yeah, so to get them on the NCR side is a little more tricky. I think you have to kill the main leader, and then his son will get like his son will like inherit the throne, and then he'll be on your side. But most of the time it's just like, okay, I guess like I can kill them all if I have to, you know, if I fail. Pretty standard fare there.
Mm-hmm.
The Brotherhood of Steel is the third main faction, and they are very different in this game than in the other games. Well, no. Let me get this straight. Fallout 3 introduced a type of Brotherhood of Steel, like they're the main faction, like you join them, like, and then you finish the game that way. They're like the best guys.
Mm-hmm.
The Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout New Vegas is much more similar to Fallout 1 and 2, where it's basically their ideology is that humans shouldn't have such advanced technology anymore, and that's why they had a nuclear war. So they basically go around and like, you know, obfuscate weapons and things. It's kind of weird. Although they are very much like in a bad state in New Vegas, where they're cut off from the main like horde of Brotherhood, and so they can't really do their operations as well as they want to. So they're kind of sucky, but they've got a really big base and a lot of very powerful weapons. If you side with the NCR or Mr. House, I do believe you have to destroy them in order to continue. You have to like kill all of the members. So in order to do that, either you have to be good with hacking, in which case you can like hack their turret system and it'll kill most of them pretty quickly, or you can do a sneak playthrough and basically pickpocket some self-destruct codes off of the three main leaders and activate the self-destruct. Yeah.
Good old. It wouldn't be a Bethesda. Well, I guess it wasn't Bethesda, but it wouldn't be a Bethesda-like game without being able to be sneaky being like the best possible option.
Sneak. Yeah. Other than that, you could just go in and shoot them all. I guess, but that sounds really hard. I don't think I've ever successfully done it that way. So
just stuck up on a lot of ammo and a lot of food.
Yeah. Yeah, so after that there's a little objective where the president of the NCR comes on a basically a speech giving tour, and in most cases you have to protect him unless you're with the Legion, in which case you you are assigned the role of assassinating him. Which I don't think I've ever successfully killed him as a Legion. I don't think there's a really penalty for failing, but I might be misremembering. And then after that, it's the Battle of Hoover Dam. In most cases, you're like fighting alongside the NCR troopers as they go toward the Legion camp, and then you fight the main Legion guy who's like next in line to Caesar, because like they couldn't have Caesar be the guy there because you could kill him in the main story. And also he's kind of a weak person. Like, he has a brain tumor, and if you don't help him, he just freaking dies.
You go through and you're like, oh, we did it already, yay.
We saved the city. And then if you're on Mr. House's side or Yes Man's side, after you beat the main Legion guy, then the NC are like, damn, you did it, good job. And then you're like, yeah, we're gonna kill you guys too. And there's no need to like actually fight them, because you have like the robot army who like shows up right behind the NCR guys, and it's just taken care of in a cutscene. But other than that, yeah, that's the main story. Spoilers. Nice. If
yeah, it's a spoiler warning, by the way. Oh wait.
Yeah. So I mean, I enjoyed the main story. It felt very interesting and impactful. Like, there was a lot of choices you could do, including Yes Man. If you decide with him, he's like, we should take care of the boomers, and then you reply, nah, I'm not really feeling like it, and he's like, okay, cool, I guess. Sure. And then you do that for all three of the main factions. I'm pretty sure you can skip all of them and just, yeah.
Just like, nah, we'll be fine, just let them do their thing. You're like, okay.
And he always does it with a smile on his face. Yeah. Yeah, so I also wanted to talk about some of the minor quests, because the main quest line has a lot of like choice and impact to it, but a lot of the minor quests are just like wacky and goofy, and they're like, okay, cool, that didn't make any sense, but all right. The main one I think of when I think of like insane quest lines is Come Fly With Me. It's probably one of the first like 2 or 3 quests you do. Well, you could choose to do. I guess you could just ignore it and keep going with the main quest. But you end up in a town called Novak, where everyone lives inside of a motel. And as someone might be, they're kind of racist towards a certain group called ghouls. Which, so in Fallout, in the Fallout universe, when you take a massive amount of lethal radiation, either you develop cancer and die, or you become a ghoul, which is basically like your skin rots off and you have like a scraggly voice, but you get healed by radiation thereafter, nice. and you never die of old age, which is interesting. So there are people besides Mr. House from before the war, because during like when the nuclear war happened, they became ghouls, and they're just hanging out, being sort of like pariahs of society in most cases. So Novak, this city, or this, I guess, small town, I guess, there are this group of ghouls that live not too far from here, and we don't like their kind, so could you get rid of them? So you go down the road to this facility called Repcon. They did rocket testing and which is important for later. And when you go inside, there are some feral ghouls. They attack you on sight, but if you get past them, then there's a group of ghouls that's led by this one ghoul called Jason Bright, named that because he glows with radiation. Like he literally glows green, and he basically started a cult where all of the ghouls that follow him they believe that they're going on something called the Great Journey, which he never really explains what that is, but it involves fixing the rockets at the rocket test site and launching in them to somewhere called the Great Beyond. Again, we don't know where that is. It's never been explained, but in the game, there's a character who maybe suggests that it's the moon, but he doesn't really even know this other group of ghouls, so he might just be talking crap. So to help them, you basically go to the basement where this other group of mutants called Nightkin are, and to explain it correctly, Nightkin are addicted to this thing that turns people invisible.
Oh, right.
And using the said item too often is said to cause insanity, which is very evident in the main Nightkin guys when you talk to him, which if you don't kill too many Nightkin before getting to him, then he still won't be like very hostile towards you. But he carries around the skull of an antelope, which he says gives him advice. And
it's his wacky antelope companion.
Exactly. And so he says that he heard that there's more of the invisibility item in the Repcon facility, and he needs your help to get them if he'll leave. Like he'll leave if you get it for him. So there's some more wacky antics with another ghoul who was trapped in there and was fighting the Nightkin, and you can help him if you want, but I pretty much always kill him because he's always in the way.
Jofo says, I need an advice skull. I think we could all use a good advice skull. Tell us what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. His advice seems pretty sound for like coming from someone so insane as
yeah, maybe this guy's onto something.
Yeah, and so there's a few ways for the quest to go, but basically at the end you say, like, unless you killed all the Nightkin, you have to tell the guy, like, hey man, there's no more of that invisibility stuff here. It was sent here by mistake and was sent back before the war, like before the nukes dropped, so we don't have any. Please go find it somewhere else. And most of the time he'll listen to you unless you do something wrong, like fight too many of his brethren. And then after all that's done, you go you go talk to the ghouls upstairs, and you're like, okay, the rockets are open. You want to go on the rocket ship? I'll take you on the rocket ship. Oh no, there's no fuel. And then you do a minor fetch quest to get the fuel. And then after that, you go up to the top of the roof, and you watch the rockets go off. And it's like, wow, where'd they go?
They're just in space now. The advice skull will tell them what to do from their point then on.
There's also, for some reason, an option if you want to sabotage the engines on the rockets, in which case they'll just blow up on the launch pad.
Wow.
But
there really are a whole lot of different paths you can go on and ways that you can interact with these guys.
Yes. um, another minor quest, the one that I was telling you about, Alex,
Mm-hmm.
is so in an area near the strip of New Vegas, there's another minor faction called the Kings, and they're set up in a Elvis Presley impersonation studio. And they're like, yo, dude, there's like, he has pictures everywhere. Everyone wanted to be him. He must have been a god. So everyone, they're all dressed as Elvis Presley, and they're all called the Kings. And they basically just worship him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they hang around and like, yeah. But the leader of the Kings, known as the King, um, has a robot dog. And he's like, there's something wrong with my dog. Can you help him? So you go talk to some people and you find out, yeah, his brain's rotten. Like it's gone bad. So let's get a new brain for this dog. And there's a few dogs you can get brains from, but after you've chosen one, you take the dog to, as the meme says, you take the dog to a ski lodge where this doctor is stationed with a whole bunch of super mutants. And yeah, you get the dog a new brain, and you bring it back, and he's like, "Thanks for saving the dog. You can keep him." And that's
Oh,
how you get
nice.
one. That's how you get one of the major companions of the game.
That's fun. Yeah, so this was a meme that Joe had put at the end of his script here, and I mean it's just very. I love, my favorite is the gee thanks the king. Heartwarming Christmas story. Yeah, that's I seem to remember that episode of Simpsons when they had to get a dog brain to put into Santa's little helper.
Yeah. So yeah, after you do that, one of the other one of the other minor quests that stuck out to me was it's called Heartache by the Numbers, and it involves one of the major companions of the game, named Cass, and she found out that her caravan that she owns got brutally murdered, and she would like to know more about that. So you just go and you're like, hey, what's up, dead bodies? How you doing? What happened here? And she's like, after looking at a few caravan carcasses, she comes to the realization that some of her old business rivals went and did a murder, and now she would enjoy it if you went ahead and did a murder on them as well.
You were doing me a murder.
So this woman named Alice McClafferty, she runs a rival business basically, and you have to go and just punch her face in.
As one does.
Which she's very easy to kill. Because there's not many people around her. Like, they all have pea shooters.
Yeah. Is it like Skyrim with the Dark Brotherhood quest where you go in to kill Grelad the Kind and you just suplex her? Just all the kids just go walking away.
Pretty much. But the other person named what's her name? Gloria Van Graft. She owns a weapons manufacturing facility, so you might understand that she's a fair bit harder to kill. And I was recently doing this quest in preparation for this podcast, and the way I killed her was basically when you go to her place, like they shake you down and you take all your weapons, but they have weapons just sitting around. So I like picked up a whole bunch of mines, brought them into the back room, like crouched down and stole them so that no one would get angry at me, and then I went and put them at her feet, and then from across the room I threw a grenade at her, and then hid in the back room again, and then she got blown to pieces, and I finished the quest.
Nice.
Which was not the end of the story, because I would then have to, after talking with Cass, the quest giver, who is a companion, so you could bring her there with you. After talking to her, finishing the quest, I would have to run past all the guards that are shooting at me, getting my head blown off, and then like exit the building where more guards are stationed, and then just running down the street, getting shot at, and then after a while, I was finally able to like hide where they couldn't find me, and that was the end of the quest. I finished.
Yeah, Joe says they just forget about you.
That was.
Sounds pretty wacky.
I mean, and the character I was playing on, I had spec'd into unarmed, so I was best at punching people.
Oh, nice.
But they had like probably 10 guards in there who could kill me in about 5 seconds total. So I could not do enough damage to punch her to death, so I had to do this strange strategy that I was just talking about.
When my fists fail, it's time to bring out the bombs.
Yeah, I think that might be all I had planned, actually.
Yeah, so it sounds like one of the best things about this game, that I'm sure most people feel the same way. Like, one of the best things about it is that there is like complete freedom, especially when you compare it to something like Fallout 4 or like Skyrim, like a lot of the more current Bethesda games. You see a game like this, and I mean it's like a giant sandbox play space, but also with directions. So it tells you where to go, it tells you what to do, but you can, if you can get to there through some other mean, you can just do that instead.
Yeah. That brought something up that I was thinking about before. One of my favorite YouTubers that I watch a lot, Budge Muppet? No, wait. Who is it? I was just guy. There. Yeah, Mitten Squad has done over 50 videos of can you beat Fallout New Vegas doing X?
I love those.
And pretty much all of them, yeah. Yeah, like can you there's even a perk, I think, in New Vegas that's a holdover from Fallout 3. I think it's Nerd Rage, where if you take too much damage, you just basically explode.
Oh.
But like the explosion doesn't hurt you most of the time. It's not supposed to, but it does glitch sometimes and kill you. But
nice.
Most of the time, and I think he played Fallout New Vegas by only doing damage with that explosion.
So he just has to take a lot of damage to make explosions. That's fun. Yeah, it is interesting. I think, like, for me, the big thing that always kept me not interested in Fallout New Vegas or really any of the Fallout series is just like I'm not as into the setting. Like Skyrim I love because I love fantasy setting and I love dragons and everything. But like a game like Fallout is the huge wasteland and everything is kind of, that was never very interesting to me. I don't even say it wasn't interesting, but I mean that was always just, I would think about like, oh okay, so I just have this like huge wasteland and all these regular people and everything, and it just felt kind of boring. But I think the other thing too is that I would usually play for like at most an hour, and so I wouldn't meet some of these crazy people like the kings and the nightkin, or even any of these different factions like the yes man and all of them. So it's like, it seems like the more you play, the more you're almost kind of rewarded with like just crazy events and characters and all sorts of really insane fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a slow burn at the start.
Mm-hmm.
The first few quests were like, oh, go kill some geckos, or I mean, maybe you might get to like the point where you fight some giant fire breathing ants.
Oh, nice.
Maybe, but that's if you basically just like sprint straight there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, what would you say are like the biggest sort of game design topics, like game design philosophies from this game that are like important to why it's successful and something that other games should try and emulate, or at least other similar games?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, player choice is something that I enjoy most of all about this. Like, if you decide at any point, like, I don't actually want to do this faction, most of the time there's a way to switch over.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a way to get to Yes Man. Just he's always like sitting there in
He's always there
Benny's.
for you.
He's always sitting there in Benny's suite, being like, "Is he coming back?" uh, the other factions may be a bit more difficult, but yeah. There's also a lot of build diversity in there. I've tried traditional firearms. I've tried punching people only, which sounds pretty hard, but if you can get like things like bladed gauntlets and power fists and stuff like that, and that still counts toward unarmed, the unarmed skill. So like you just like punch someone and they pretty much go flying because you have a pneumatic arm.
Oh, nice.
And then obviously, if you want, you could do like sneak kill, like every other Bethesda game.
Yeah, it's my specialty.
And I think they added survival as a skill tree in New Vegas. I don't think it was in Fallout 3, but I could be mistaken. But you could like go to campfires and make interesting foods and stuff like that. Which is not the most rewarding thing in the game, but it's there, and that's something.
I get to fulfill my dream of being a chef in post-apocalyptic times.
We. And there's also, in like, if you remember in Skyrim, you could do a quest with one of the Daedric gods and get a ring that could make you eat people, and that's cannibalism is a perk that you can take.
Nice.
And there's even, I think, a special like perk that you can get in the game for eating all the major faction leaders.
Is there a speedrun eat everyone %?
Of course there is, of course.
So what would you say, like, comparing I guess, let's see, I'm trying to think of exactly how I want to word this. Looking at the game as like what the best part about it is, would you say the best part is the actual gameplay, or the best part is the like story and world?
The gameplay is very lacking, actually. Gunplay, which is a major section of the game, is very jank.
Nice.
Obviously, so I mean, the best way to put this is the engine that you're playing on is Oblivion with guns. So Fallout 3 came out in 2008. So the engine probably was pretty much entirely finished in 2006, and they basically changed nothing about the engine in making this game. It was all like making the world and the story. So the story is like the choices you can make, the story that you're taking a part of. Like when you finish the game, there's basically a slideshow that's like, okay, what happened to all the major factions, even the minor factions. Like they mentioned the starting town, Good Springs. Like what happened to them? Because there's a quest that you can do to either, I guess, kill all the townsfolk if you want, which almost nobody does, or fight this band of criminals who are attacking them. Be like, what happened to them afterwards? It's an interesting way, like seeing how the world shapes itself after major events happen.
Yeah, do a where are they now segment. Interesting. Yeah, it sounds really fun, and it does sound like Fallout New Vegas, more than any of the other Fallout games, seems like one of those games where it is really, really, really carried by, but like not carried by in a super bad way, but carried by its story and its world. Like they put a lot of care into the world building and into the story and everything, and coming up with all of the individual interactions, and like it definitely shows that they really cared with what they were doing, which is a good thing. So like it's a shame that the gameplay isn't all there, but like you said, it's just the Oblivion engine but with guns. So there's a lot of limitations to that. So yeah, it sounds fun though. So someday I gotta take a look at Fallout New Vegas, give it another real try. I think I probably still have it on my Xbox 360, but I don't know how long for this world my Xbox 360 is. Every time I turn it on, I'm afraid it's not gonna actually go through. All the more reason I gotta run through and get those Minecraft maps we had made before time runs out.
Please don't burn your house down trying to play Fallout.
I'll be doing the the battle for the Hoover Dam while like flames are around me. Well, is there any other stuff about this or other games or anything that you wanted to talk about before we sort of end here?
Not that I can think of. I thought that was pretty thorough.
Yeah. Well, we also like to open up the floor for questions. If anyone has any questions, you can put them in chat. We'll give it a minute or so, and if there aren't any questions, then we'll move on to the next thing for the stream. But if there are any questions, feel free to just say them, and we'll answer them. Probably Joe will answer them more because he has the knowledge of the game.
You got to give it a shot.
Yeah. I'll answer it like I know exactly what I'm talking about. Abby said Bethesda should pay you because you made her want to play. Nice. Yeah, it sounds really fun. And again, this is, I mean, my most Fallout experience is that video that you and I made for Fallout 4. I haven't really experienced a whole lot of Fallout, so, but after hearing all this, it sounds pretty darned interesting and pretty fun.
Go play it.
Yeah, right now. Ending stream. Bye. No.